Welcome to the 15th season of the NitWits, a weekly roundtable discussion on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Our panel includes Neil Riddell of the Altoona Mirror, Mark Brennan of FightOnState.com, Casey Kantz of WTAJ Sports, and a special guest analyst each week. The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Doctors Howells and Reed, orthodontics for children and adults. By the bookstore in the Park Hills Plaza, featuring the area's most complete selection of books, DVDs, magazines, and collectibles. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue, Altoona. Just ask rental. By Pacifico's Bakery, genuine Italian bread and rolls for your tailgating needs. By the Altoona Professional Hearing Aid Center, your hearing aid healthcare professional. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your cleaning needs. Your rehab choice, Health South Altoona. Ask for us by name. By J&P Auto, home of the $1,000 push, pull, or tow. By Courtesy Motors of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By the Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By McMullen Furniture, the friendly store with quality furniture at a reasonable price. By Scotch Valley Country Club, the area's premier golf destination. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State game day every Friday. You can also see the NitWits on AltoonaMirror.com.
All righty, welcome back to another season of the NitWits. The gang all here. We've got Mark Brennan, Mike Irwin, and Neil Riddell. Guys, an incredibly difficult offseason, and we kind of got into it a little bit in the bye week last year when everything kind of came down, but then we've been off for a year, and everything's kind of gotten a lot worse. But let's start right there. When you're trying to look at this show and start it every week and formulate ideas and everything, this time was a little bit more difficult because of everything that's come down. Let's start with the sanctions, though, first of all, Neil.
Yeah, they were harsher than I think everyone expected. Unfair to a point, in the vacating of the wins. But, I mean, we could sit here and grind over this, and I think anybody who's a Penn State fan will talk about this the rest of our lives, whether you're 25 years old and on up. But I think if Penn State would be appealing and not accepting, there would be an even more uncertain cloud hanging over them. In that regard, I think Bill O'Brien has done a good job trying to look forward and making the best of the situation. And it is a difficult situation, but there is a lot left for this year. There was, they were expecting to have, a pretty good core back, so they'll have to build on that. I mean,
yeah, we'll get into some of that in a bit. Unprecedented, though, was the word that was used a lot, especially by Mark Emmert. Unprecedented circumstances facing Penn State, and unprecedented, ultimately, sanctions that came down.
Yeah, unprecedented in the speed that everything happened,
yeah,
too. I think that's what bothered a lot of people. But, my take on this is rather than focusing on whether these sanctions are fair or not, they're here. The Penn State football team has to deal with them. When we heard from the board that they went back a couple of weeks after everything came down and said, is there any way of lessening? I don't think that's the time to do it. Show that you're able to live through this for a year, that you're able to do the right thing, and then maybe come back. Right now, everybody ought to be focusing on the team. You have, as Neil said, a lot of good players back, some great players back. This is a team that, even though the roster has been, they don't have as many scholarship guys as you would like to have, they have the opportunity to do some good things this year, and I think it's time for people to stop worrying about the sanctions, focus on this team.
I don't think there's anybody better that could have handled this than Bill O'Brien. I mean, I think it was a great hire from the get-go. I mean, I look around the country at these other head coaches, and is there anybody who would have done a better job than Bill O'Brien has done? I know I personally have heard him about 4 times speak, and I just think, and I don't know, I think his role in this is to take the team forward and not look back. But again, I'm not sure I agree with Neil that it shouldn't be appealed, because I think the NCAA, the Board of Trustees, the free report, a lot of these people, the facts haven't really come out yet, and a lot of this stuff I think is subject to appeal. I know, like the the free report, they just had another incident with, I think it was the International Soccer Association, when free report, they disclaimed a free report and gave the guy his job back. So I think the NCAA should have looked a little closer at what they were doing, and rather than doing this overwhelming sanction. So I hope there is an appeal to the NCAA, and they would lighten the load, because if you look at these Penn State kids had nothing to do with it, the coaches had nothing to do with it, the fans had nothing to do with it, and they're penalizing all those people, and I just think it's wrong. And I don't like to sit back and watch injustices being done. I think we have to go forward, but I think we still have the right to appeal some of these injustices that have been done in the past.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing, though, is Penn State signed a consent decree, so, is there really an option to appeal? And that's one of the big issues. I agree with you, Mike. Listen, this thing was done too quickly, and it sure seems to me like these penalties are harsh, and Neil had mentioned that. But I think for the time being, and again, give it some time, and if you want to appeal this a little bit later on, but right now, I think everybody's got to rally around this team and focus on this season.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody, go ahead.
One other comment, but didn't the NCAA overstep their bounds? Because according to their bylaws, they had to have a previous violation before ever they could give them the death penalty. And I can't even believe they threw the death penalty out. There's some concern that was really an option at that point. And I don't know that Erickson handled it as well as he should have. I don't think he should have signed that consent decree to begin with.
Yeah, I agree.
But he didn't have the sanction of the Board of Trustees at that point. So they're still going back and revisiting this. So I don't know. I want to look forward, but I hate to be, I think when you take a shot in the back.
And there's no question you reflect an opinion that many, if not most, Penn State fans and former players agree with. So, it's a double-edged sword. You could sit here and question things, and we're going to continue to question things. I'm not sure how productive that would be for right now.
You mentioned moving forward, though, and Bill O'Brien, and the first time in 46 years there's going to be a new head coach at Penn State. And he has seemed to do and say all the right things since taking this job. And he hasn't coached a game yet, but my gosh, early impressions of him are fantastic.
Yeah, I think he has said all the right things. And I think I'm looking forward to see what they do on offense, because I think they're going to be much more organized. From the day he took the job, he said he's going to call the plays. And we've been through this for the past 10-plus years about the different hands in the play-calling mix, and it's been frustrating to watch, and I think it's had a lot of mixed results.
Yeah, I mean, I was critical of a lot of the decisions of the board and the new leadership, and I still am. I remain critical. But the one thing that they did and absolutely did right was hire this guy, Bill O'Brien. I mean, from the opening press conference until now, leading up to the first game, he has done everything right. Now, he's the first guy to say, listen, once we lose a game, we'll see what everybody has to say. But I think he was you want to talk about unprecedented? He was put into an unprecedented situation. He's handled it magnificently.
He's inherited the most difficult situation in sports history at any level.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. Some guys have chose to depart from Penn State after the sanctions were handed down. We're going to discuss those and talk about the current mold of this 2012 team when we return. You're watching the NitWits. Stay with us.
The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Doctors Howells and Reed, orthodontics for children and adults. By the bookstore in the Park Hills Plaza, featuring the area's most complete selection of books, DVDs, magazines, and collectibles. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue, Altoona. Just ask rental.
Hi, I'm Penn State head football coach Bill O'Brien, and you are watching the NitWits.
How about that?
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you,
That's
Coach.
why we were talking him up.
He's everywhere, isn't he?
We'll have to see if we can bring him down to be
I guess, yes, I guess.
I don't know if he could fill Mike's shoes over there. I don't know.
Well, no,
I don't either.
No one can.
Yeah.
No.
He has been unbelievable, though.
He really has.
I mean, I think he went all through the state. He went to every city in the East Coast, I think.
He spent that whole day at ESPN, too. I mean, interview after interview after interview. Guys everywhere. The sanctions, we talked about those a little bit. in the first block and an effect on some of really what was to be a current makeup of this year's team, specifically from an offensive standpoint. The Nittany Lions lose their leading rusher, Silas Red, to USC, leading receiver coming back, Justin Brown to Oklahoma. Those guys obviously are big names. A guy who kind of gets lost, though, kicker Anthony Farah. And he transfers too. He was Mr. Everything, as I've been calling him the last couple years, especially last year. Talk about some of these transfers.
I think Anthony Farah is the biggest loss that they have. I mean, because he was an outstanding kicker. Now, I think Sam Ficken, the new kicker, is a pretty good field goal extra point guy. I think they're more concerned about the punting at this point with Butterworth versus Farah. But I think, you know, I've been reading a lot about the different positions. There's going to be a lot of new faces on this team, and I think like Mark said earlier, I think they have a lot of talent down there right now, and I think this team's really going to surprise some people.
Well, they moved the kickoff for the 35-yard line now instead of the 30, so that may help a little bit. And we don't know how the punter will be used in this new offense compared to, I mean, it was a very important player in the Paterno era. But, you know, obviously he's important, but we don't know how the emphasis will be on the kicking game compared to maybe the rest of the offense.
Yeah, I mean, O'Brien half joked that, you know, who says we're going to punt on fourth down? You know, so I don't know that we're going to see.
Let alone from the 40.
Yeah, but listen, the other way to look at this is Farah went down to Texas. He's already been injured. I mean, he suffered a groin problem in his status for the season, and nobody's wishing injuries on anybody. I hope the kid's healthy, and I hope all the other guys remain healthy. But the point is, in the course of a season, you're going to lose players, and that's how they have to approach this. You know, nobody wanted to see Silas Red go, but he's gone. They've always had good enough running backs to step up and get the job done. And in terms of Justin Brown, this is a guy who really had yet to live up to his potential. You know, 3 touchdown catches in his career. He played a lot of football, but they have some good young talent, albeit untested. To me, I absolutely agree, though, that Farah as a punter is their biggest loss.
Talk about some of that. The guys that need to step up now, you know, Bill Belton, obviously, the running game, and is the receiving core, the youth and inexperience, is that a concern to you?
It absolutely has to be a concern. Listen, you have guys like Allen Robinson, Shawnee Kersey, Alex Kenny. You know, these guys have not played a lot of football. Allen Robinson last year, I have no idea. You know, he had like, what, 4 catches or something? Why they didn't play him? This guy is a super athlete. These guys are very athletic. And in terms of Belton, he's going to remind a lot of people of Mike Archie. Kind of a smaller, compact, well-built guy, does a lot of really good things, can catch the ball. And so I listen, you would like to have Silas Red there, but they're going to be fine at that running back spot.
And I think Brown would have caught 50 balls this year in this system. And Robinson may catch more balls than Brown catches at Oklahoma.
Yeah, the Robinson, or the Brown transfer is a head-scratcher. Silas Red has 2 years left.
If you look at it, I know they have a couple big, tall tight ends. Gary Gilliam and the other kid that's Jesse
James and Kyle Carter.
They're both like 6'6", 6'7" kids, and I think, you know, Brian's going to use his tight ends a lot more. And then Alex Kenny, he's like a, you know, 60-yard meter run, like he was #1 in the country or something like that. Unbelievable. So I think we have a lot to look forward to, and I think some of these receivers are going to step up, especially in this new offense. I mean, I'm going to be disappointed him coming down from New England and coming into Penn State and talking about throwing to the tight ends, and it looks like McGloin has solidified himself as that quarterback, and he's a great leader, and I think he said he's adapting well to these audibles that they could call in line of scrimmage. So I think Penn State fans are going to really have.
And we're talking right now all offense, and the defense should be the strength of the team.
Yeah, exactly. We're due for a break. When we come back, how will Nittany Nation respond, and what will be the reception when the Nittany Lions head of the road this year? We'll discuss that one on the other side. Stay with us.
The NitWits are brought to you by Pacifico's Bakery, genuine Italian bread and rolls for your tailgating needs. By the Altoona Professional Hearing Aid Center, your hearing aid healthcare professional. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your cleaning needs. By your rehab choice, Health South Altoona. Ask for us by name. By JMP Auto, home of the $1,000 push, pull, or tow. By Courtesy Motors of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal.
Now back to NitWits. A roundtable look at Nittany Lion football.
Welcome back. Continuing to get you ready for another season of Penn State football here in Happy Valley. The opener against Ohio this Saturday at high noon. Guys, what do you think the fan response will be, not only this Saturday, but especially on the road games?
Well, the road games, you may have some sensationalists, who knows. But I think the home crowd is going to be so passionate. I mean, they are so ready to unleash a year's worth of frustration that I think that this team is going to be better supported than any Penn State team has ever been.
Yeah, I even think on the road, toward the end of last season, Penn State went into some very difficult places, and we really didn't see them. Obviously there were comments here and there, I'm sure, but overall they were well received. I've been on record as saying, I'll bet you when they go down to Virginia, the players get some sort of ovation when they come out on the field, because I think a lot of fans across the nation have an appreciation for what these players have done, what they've dealt with, and the class and dignity that they've handled themselves with in an awful situation.
Point. Yeah, I mean, these players had nothing to do with what went on, Mike.
Yeah, this team is the biggest challenge, I think, for any Penn State football team going into this season under these circumstances. But I agree with Neil that I just know that first game down there, people were anxious to get down there and watch them and support them. And I know Virginia's a tough ticket right now, so I think, they're going to be welcome in most of these places because, everybody's sort of sympathetic toward these kids because they haven't had anything to do with this whole scenario, and here they're getting punished. So I think people will come out and support them. I mean, for the most part, people who understand the game and what has happened should support them.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. We'll step out and take our final break. When we come back, we'll wrap things up as we always do with our final thoughts and predictions. It's next.
The NitWits are brought to you by The Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By McMullen Furniture, the friendly store with quality furniture at a reasonable price. By Scotch Valley Country Club, the area's premier golf destination. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State game day every Friday.
I'm Matt McGloin, and you're watching the NitWits.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. Guys, back time for our predictions, season predictions, game predictions against Ohio. We'll start with the season. Where do you see this team? Tough year.
Well, I had like a 9-3-ish before the sanctions. I'm going to go 7-5. I think they are vulnerable to some depth issues. They have good players, no question, but they have a lot of unproven talent underneath those first couple waves. So I'm going to say 7-5 on the season. I think the particularly tough games will be Wisconsin at home, Nebraska and Iowa on the road, and then, if they could split with Illinois or Virginia, I think that would get them off to a pretty good start.
Mark? I'm sorry, Neil.
No, I didn't know if I should piggyback the Ohio.
No, I'm sorry.
I picked 8-4 before, and I'm going to stick with it. I think some of the losses are going to be offset by these guys playing with a lot of emotion. And listen, I'm going to come right out and say it, that I'm rooting for these players. You're supposed to be unbiased and everything else, but these guys have gone through a lot, and I really respect them. And I hope they're able to put together that sort of a season. I think they run the table in the non-con. I know some people may argue with that, and then I think they could eke out 4 wins in the Big Ten.
Mike?
I'm going to go one step ahead of Mark, 9-3, because I haven't given up, and I think the tough games are Nebraska, Wisconsin, Ohio State, Northwestern, but I think they're going to beat Ohio State up here this year. Those kids are going to be fired up for every game, but and Nebraska is on the road this year, right? And Wisconsin is at home, so I think they'd have a shot at probably either Wisconsin or Ohio State at home. So I'm going to go 9-3.
I'm going to go 6-6, just with some of the things going on. I think that Purdue game at Purdue might be a little difficult too. We all have different. That way, we all have different. I think we all have different picks.
We all do have different picks, so that'll be the tiebreaker when we get to the end.
Nice. That will. Let's do the Ohio game while we're at it too. Coming at you in just less than a week now. Hard to believe.
Yeah. You're looking at me, so I'll start.
Yeah, let's start with Neil.
I was kind of hoping you'd look at Brennan first.
I can look at Brennan. We can take it back.
The Paterno era, I was picking 26-9, 27-12 type scores. I don't know how to pick a score right now with these. But I think Penn State's defense is really going to be inspired. Maudie made a point at Media Day, said none of the key guys left on defense. I'm going to say Penn State 27 and Ohio U 13.
I'll go next. Listen, Ohio U, this is a team that returns an outstanding quarterback in Tettleton, but they lose a lot of key players on both sides of the ball. I think Penn State's offense is going to come out and play well. I'll go crazy, 32 to 14.
Mike, can you calculate in time? That's what I was calculating. Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Actually, it's ironic because I was going to go 24-10, but he said 27-13. So I'm going to go 24-3 with that kind of a spread. I think Penn State, Frank Solich has a lot of experience. They were 8-4 last year, and I agree with Mark. They have a good quarterback, but I don't think they have a lot around him. And I think Penn State, with that front seven that they have on defense, he's not going to do much passing on Saturday.
I will go Penn State 23-17. We got less than a minute now. We have a new format this year for the Nitwits. Neil, why don't you explain that?
A lot of Blair County kids are playing for Ohio U, so we'll look forward to seeing that. Mike is backing away from a weekly commitment against his better judgment, but he's going to do that. We're going to have a revolving chair, mostly former players and or people that you'll enjoy seeing. Our first guest after the Ohio U game will be Fran Fisher, so I know you'll look forward to seeing Fran. Mike, you'll be a presence here weekly, whether you're here or not, and we wish you well. And
I love Fran Fisher, so I think that's an excellent choice for the first game. I'm looking forward to watching the Nitwits a little bit. I'll be still participating, but mentally, I'm with you, but I needed some time off a little bit. So.
Always appreciate having you, Mike.
Okay,
we'll see you soon. That does it for this edition of the Nitwits. We'll see you soon. Good night.
The Nitwits have been brought to you by Irwin Financial Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Doctors Howells and Reed, orthodontics for children and adults. By the bookstore in the Park Hills Plaza, featuring the area's most complete selection of books, DVDs, magazines, and collectibles. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue, Altoona. Just ask rental. By Pacifico's Bakery, genuine Italian bread and rolls for your tailgating needs. By the Altoona Professional Hearing Aid Center, your hearing aid healthcare professional. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your cleaning needs. By your rehab choice, Health South Altoona. Ask for us by name. By J&P Auto, home of the $1,000 push, pull, or tow. By Courtesy Motors of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By the Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By McMullen Furniture, the friendly store with quality furniture at a reasonable price. By Scotch Valley Country Club, the area's premier golf destination. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State game day every Friday. You can also see the Nitwits on AltoonaMirror.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.